Good morning, everyone. Chris Terrell here at DFSR.com as well as my Patreon, patreon.com/Jagerbombs. Going to be bringing you an early look to the Tuesday, June 15th slate. All 15 teams are on the main slate tonight. Unfortunately, as you can see, the pitching is a little bit limited. We've been lucky the last few days with top pitching out there. So things are going to be a little bit different tonight, especially considering my top pitcher and Yu Darvish. The model likes him too, as you can see. Projections like him. He's in Coors, toughest ballpark in the league for pitchers. But good news is he's a huge favorite, so he's got that win expectation there for sure, win equity. And he faces a Colorado team. If we slide over, they've been terrible against righties, 68 WRC plus, pretty league average, 24% K rate. On the season overall, 76% 76 WRC plus, which is 24% lower than league average. They're again about league average, 24% K rate. Last 7 days they've struggled. Last 14 days they've struggled. The only thing that really gets them, me reconsidering or thinking about this a little bit is the fact that it is in Coors. Now, Colorado's been shut down in Coors so far this season, and if Darvish was, in the 10K, 10.5, 11K range where we see a lot of elite pitchers as huge favorites come into Colorado still, I'd probably reconsider for cash games a little bit, but being the fact that he's 9,400 on DK, 9,000 on FanDuel just puts him easily as my top pitcher tonight. And then number 2 would be Trevor Rogers. I'm going to bring up some data with him here real quick. Actually, we're going to jump over to Fangraphs, and we're going to go look at his game log for the season. So he came in 2020 last year and over 7 starts, had a huge K upside, as you can see. Not a whole lot of control, which led to a 6.11 ERA. But the good news is that the xFIP was almost 3 runs lower, 2.5 runs lower here. So that was awesome to see. And he has started this season absolutely amazing. As you can see here, he has allowed 2 or fewer runs in 12 of his 13 starts, and the other one was 3 earned runs. He's only given up 4 home runs all season. The walk rate's coming down from what we've seen last year, almost a walk less per 9 innings, which is awesome to see. The K rates came down a little bit as well, but I'll take that ultimate consistency, going 6-7 innings, 5 to 7 innings very, very consistently here. He's just been extremely consistent, backs it up with an xFIP of 3.35 here. So I really like Rogers, and the price is actually, it seems high. He's the highest on the slate, obviously. He's a slight underdog at the moment in a game that's a 7.5 total. The Cardinals have Kim coming back off the IL tonight, so I believe he's probably going to go 4 or 5 innings, so they're going to get into that bullpen. I think Miami has a good shot here. So I have no problem paying up for Rogers. And if we go over to DraftKings and I always look at like the 20K mark, where I want to try and keep my pitchers around the max I really want to go. Sometimes, depending on the value, which has been very good this season, you can almost get up to that 21K mark as well. So let's plug in these guys and see what we got to play with. That leaves us an average of 38.25. So that's still not bad because we're going to go ahead and probably punt our catcher tonight. And then I wrote the article up over on DFSR.com today. So if you go over to DFSR.com, click on MLB, you can click today's picks and check out my article. And the reason I like these 2 as my top pitchers comes down to value, to be honest. And I'm just going to jump over. I'll come back and talk about Casey Mize in a little bit. If you're not into paying up, it's going to be 19.4 for your pitchers on DraftKings tonight. I'm just going to go over to the team stacking tab here. So top 2 teams, obviously San Diego. They are projected for over 7 implied runs right now, which is absolutely insane. But they face cheatsheet Gonzalez, 5.74 ERA, 4.73 xFIP, terrible on the whip. So he's putting a lot of walks and hits out there. So he's given a lot of opportunities to teams, which can be a death sentence in Coors Field, especially with the power that San Diego provides. For almost a 44% hard contact rate here. The xWOBA and the X slugging percentage are both above the WOBA and slugging percentage. He's been terrible against righties. He's been terrible against lefties. So just overall, and then you add in the fact that Colorado's bullpen has been of the worst in the league overall last 7 days. Very, very high whip. So they're walking a lot of people, giving up a lot of hits, giving up home runs, and really not striking out a lot of batters. So you get a bad starting pitcher, you get a bad bullpen, you get Coors Field. San Diego has to be the top team on the slate tonight. And if we go look at their projected lineup, I think I got this going not completely. So this is a little bit different than what we're going to see tonight. If I just go over, I just want to pull that up here. It's probably going to be Pham and then Grisham, which for cash games, these are two of my favorite cash game plays because it gives you a little bit of value because Machado and Tatis are absolutely insane price. You can see Tatis is 6,400. And then we're probably going to see Hosmer here in the 5-hole, followed by Myers, Cronenworth, and Caratini. So that's probably, I'm going to update this right now as I'm doing the video. We can see the projected lineup. Grisham for sure is an excellent price for value in cash games. If you're looking for a one-off piece to get some exposure to this game, it's definitely going to be there. Pham under 4K on FanDuel. Those two at the top of the order. I think Eric Hosmer, if he's going to be in the 5-hole, is good here. And there's just enough to go around that you could definitely stack San Diego in GPPs as well. But I like that top of the order for the best value because paying 6,400 is not going to work for Tatis in cash games. Cleveland is up number 2. They face Matt Harvey. Harvey has given up 4 or more earned runs in 5, or I think it's 5 or more earned runs in 5 of his last 6 starts. He's just been terrible. It was nice to see a glimpse of the old Matt Harvey, but it's just not there. 7.41 ERA, 4.71 xFIP, very high, second highest WHIP on the slate at 1.7 is just absolutely terrible. That's why you're giving up a ton of runs. It's positive for him to see that the xWOBA and xSlug are a little bit lower than the slug and WOBA, but they're still in terrible range. So keep that in mind when you're breaking down these numbers. He's given up a 4.18 WOBA to righties, a 3.38 lefties, so he's been slightly worse going into tonight versus righties. But when you start looking at the xFIP, that's kind of, I use xFIP as kind of a sign of, is the ERA real? Is that 7.30 ERA something that we're going to see moving forward? Well, it's a 3.84 xFIP, almost 4 runs lower. So I see some positive regression against righties. But it's not so good news against lefties. 7.52 ERA, so very similar, but a 5.66 xFIP. So yes, it's better, almost 2 runs better, but it's still absolutely trash. So everyone for Cleveland's in play for me. We'll go look at their projected lineup here. And the reason I like them in all formats tonight just simply comes down to the value as well. Not only does San Diego give us a little bit of value, even though they're in Coors at the top of their lineup, I think Ahmed Rosario is one of my favorite value plays on the whole slate. He's under 4K on DK, 3,100 on FanDuel. I'm just going to start plugging a few of these guys in. He fits right with our average here as well. I'm still looking to, with my cash games when I'm paying up for multiple pitchers, I'm still looking for, move this out of the way real quick. Put that back right there. So while I'm looking for plays here, I'm not looking for a lineup of one-offs here. I'm still looking for a correlation with at least 2 players from a team for cash games, just because we've seen a lot of high-scoring games this year. And if teams are going to be scoring 6, 7, 8, 9 runs, and you just have that one piece at the top of the order while the guys behind them, especially when we're talking leadoff hitters, if you're playing a leadoff hitter, you definitely want, you don't exactly need the 2-hitter right behind him, but you definitely want someone in that top 4, because if that leadoff hitter's getting on and he's kind of hitting his max value and getting on base and stealing bases and getting in position to score runs, you want the guys behind him that are going to drive him in to max your upside by using that cheap leadoff hitter. So with Ahmed, he's not the leadoff hitter. You could also fit Cesar Hernandez in there. He's a little more expensive, though. He's in that 4,900 range on DraftKings. So I'm looking at Ahmed. And then that kind of gives you a path to, say, an Eddie Rosario hitting in the 4-hole here. And he's been hot. Hits in 5 of his last 6, some multi-hit games in there, some doubles, RBIs. He's driving people in. So he's definitely someone I am looking at for value as well, and he fits right in. So they could be hitting 2-3 or 2-4 in the Cleveland order. So you get that correlation there. You get that value which we need at that price range. If we're looking at, say, a catcher to kind of fill that out, if you are going with the value pitcher, in case you might as well bring up here in a little bit, Tyler Stevenson is definitely in play with Cincinnati. He has absolutely crushed lefties, 420 WOBA, 166 WRC plus, 350 ISO, isolated power. Red hot lately, like last 14 days, he's got over a 500 WOBA, 222 WRC plus. He's underpriced the way he's performing, and I'll even consider him in cash games if you're going to get some Cincinnati guys in there. He hits fourth in the order most nights, if not fifth. So that correlation is there if you want to put him with like a cheap Cincinnati bat, like India at the top of the order is cheap. Or we're going to talk about, I'll just bring it up right now, Nick Castellanos is still way too cheap on DraftKings at 4,900. He's top 5 MVP in the National League right now. With his teammate Winker, obviously. He's been amazing. But it's a lefty matchup tonight. Winker has under a 100 ISO versus lefties. He's league average WRC plus, below league average in terms of WOBA versus lefties. It's just not a great lefty-lefty matchup. So paying 6,300 and 4,400 is ridiculous for Winker in cash games especially. I don't even know if I want to go there in GPP because you really got to get away from Darvish and Rogers if you're going to do that. Nick Castellanos, while he's the same price on FanDuel, which is fair because he's been, like I said, top 5 in MVP voting, he absolutely crushes lefties. 486 WOBA, 210 WRC plus, 4,900 on DraftKings is way too cheap. He should be 6,300 if you ask me. Again, too cheap. Going to be a top bat on the slate. Last time I called that in a video, he hit a home run. So there's big things. I hope he knows what's on the line for him tonight because I called it again. So Nick Castellanos, let's go hit a home run. Find those prop bets out there if you can. If you get a good number on that, go ahead and take it. But yeah, Cincinnati is definitely on my list tonight. We'll go look at their, like I said, you got India up there. You could go Castellanos and Stevenson. That's pretty fair prices for them. I don't think you can do it with paying up for both pitchers, but you could definitely go there. But back to catcher here. If we're looking to punt a catcher, I'm usually looking for someone in that low 2K to, high 2K range. So just, if Austin Hedges gets in there, he is only 2,500. Hasn't been great, don't get me wrong. But if we're already targeting Cleveland and he's going to be hitting usually, let's just have a look here. He's usually at the bottom of the order, but he does correlate with the team correlation. So you at least get that. So I'm just going to plug him in here for now. We'll address the catcher punt later in the day once we start seeing some lineups come out in chat. So definitely hit me up for that. But for now, we throw that in there. We're back up to that 4,000. So you could definitely get a Castellanos. There we go. Brings you back down to that 38.75. And with Cincinnati here, if you want to stay in the same game, I also like going back to Milwaukee again. I've been on Milwaukee for pretty much over the last week just because of the way things have shaked out. Travis Shaw went on the IL, which put Louis Urias giving more playing time. He's been good lately, and he's still cheap on both sides. So 3,700. Daniel Vogelbach. Let's go look at both of them. They both exactly fit into this build that that's the pitcher. So we'll X off that. I'll just keep that up there. I seem to screw that up a lot. So we got Louis Urias here over his last 10 games here, and I like to use this on DraftKings. It's a nice scope. 341 on base, only a 229 averaging 6.3 DK points. Still not bad. I'll take that as a leadoff hitter in a good matchup. Almost did it again. But the one that I am looking at here is Daniel Vogelbach, hitting second in the lineup lately. Very, very impressive with the on-base percentage. He's been getting some walks. As you can see, he had 5 over a 3-game span here. He's got the power with home runs. He's hitting doubles. He's been consistently getting on base almost every single game over the last, pretty much since the start of June, like a 2-week span. So if we go and throw Urias and Vogelbach in there, we're now still at a 4,000. This is a very solid correlated lineup with 2 top pitchers. We've got 3 Cleveland, 2 Milwaukee. We've got Castellanos, who I talked about being obviously an elite matchup, but underpriced on DraftKings. And now we've got 4,000 average for 2 final spots. So despite the Coors night wanting exposure to San Diego, wanting exposure, I didn't even throw the San Diego guys in there. So there's definitely a lot of ways and a lot of value out there tonight across the teams. Right now I got San Diego, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Milwaukee. Those are the 4 teams I wanted to mention here in this video. There's value among all 4 of those teams. There's tons of upside. There's tons of correlation. So getting to these top pitchers is definitely not a problem. What I like here was Casey Mize. I said I would mention him. If you're looking to go cheap and maybe load up on more San Diego bats or more Cleveland bats with Tatis and Machado with San Diego, or if you're looking at third base, I absolutely love, outside of Machado, Jose Ramirez. He's been red hot. He gets a good matchup, but again, very expensive, so you're going to need some value if you're playing GPPs. I don't even mind Mize in cash games here. We're just going to go look at his numbers. To start the season, he really, really struggled. I actually want to bring this up on. So 3 earned runs over his last 2, but early in the season he had those 2 starts where he gave up 5 and 6 earned runs against Kansas City, who he faces tonight, and Oakland in back-to-back starts. But things have really, really changed for him, and I wanted to just kind of bring him up here and show you some things that I'm looking at on Fangraphs from kind of a start-to-start perspective when breaking down some of these guys that maybe have. First of all, he's a number 1 overall pick in 2018. He came along. Things are progressing a lot faster. Things are happening a lot different in the major leagues right now, where guys aren't sitting in the minors for 5-6 years, going through rookie ball and A ball and double A and then triple A and then coming to the majors. A lot of these guys are jumping double A right to the majors. And now with COVID, there's a lot of guys that we see, in terms of bats, especially 60 at bats, 70 at bats in the minor leagues total, and then coming to the majors. The same things for pitchers in terms of starts and appearances. Like we look at Casey Mize, he made 1 in rookie ball after he was drafted. And then between A ball and 2 seasons, he made 10 starts, 15 at double A, and then boom, jumped to triple A. So that's 21 starts, 25 starts between A plus ball and double A, and then boom, he's all of a sudden in the majors. Obviously, he's going to struggle. Last year in the shortened season, he struggled. Early in this season, he struggled a little bit, but he's really picked it up lately. He has gone 5+ innings in every start since getting rocked by the Royals. He's faced the Royals twice since then, holding them to 3 hits and 2 earned runs and 3 hits and 1 earned run. So I don't want to say dominated them, but he's been very, very good versus Kansas City, who blew him up way back at the end of April there. He's been solid. 6+ strikeouts in 5 straight starts here. That price, he only needs 14 points. We go over to DraftKings. He's gotten 14 points in 5, 6 straight. Well, I'm even going to count that one at 13 points. I will take a 12.7 from him at 7,100, going up to, say, Rogers or Darvish, who's probably going to be a little bit lower on. I'm not 100% on that just because of the Coors factor. But if you want to pair one of those top pitchers instead of them together, you can definitely go with mine. So my builds, if I was doing 20 max tonight, would be a combination of Rogers and Darvish, probably quite a bit. I would say probably in 8 of those 20 lineups, I would have them paired. And then the other 12 would be 6 of Rogers and Mize and 6 of Darvish and Mize. Right now, that's the way I'm looking at it. Things change throughout the day when lineups start coming in. But honestly, going through all of this garbage here in the middle, the one I would like the most, I guess, would be Hyun-Jin Ryu. I'm a Jays homer, as you can probably tell behind me, all around. Not wearing my Jays hat today, but definitely a homer. But Ryu's a little more than I want to pay for him right now. But he's facing, I don't even want to say a struggling Yankees offense anymore, because as you can tell, they've started to heat up. 138 WRC plus last 7 days, 113 over the last 14. He's not a high K pitcher, 22%. That's below average. He's more of just your solid low ERA type guy. For cash games, I think you could maybe consider him, put him with Darvish if you don't want to double pay up, but I just assume pay up for Rogers and Darvish here for not a whole lot more. For an extra $1,000 is not going to make that big of a difference in terms of your bats tonight. So he's more of a GPP pivot off these guys. I think he's going to be low owned. And if we just go see, I'm not too big into the whole narrative of pitcher versus team. BVP, definitely not really a big narrative of that unless we know the sample sizes from the current season or within the last year, even because once we start getting outside the last couple of years, we get these veterans that have 60 at bats versus a pitcher who's also a veteran. What I just don't totally see. There's not enough information as to whether, as to is that pitcher pitching on three days rest, is that hitter just coming off the IL. There's a lot of unknowns when you look at BVP, and especially like I said, when the larger sample sizes still, because what does it matter what a guy did against a pitcher 5 years ago? The pitcher's almost 100%, not 100% change, but almost 100%. He has changed something in his game and is a different pitcher. Very few pitchers now aren't changing from year to year. We see cycles of hitters attack pitchers, do really good, and then we see that counter. It's kind of like defense versus offense in football, especially among division opponents. We see a lot of that back and forth. So we do see that. Toronto with New York, I think he's faced them twice this year already. Was very good against them. Almost, he went into the seventh inning, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts, 1 walk back mid-April here. That was his only start against them. Had 1 bad start against Houston, who does crush lefties. Oakland's been good against lefties, and so is Boston. So his 3 bad starts come against teams that really hit lefties well. If we look at the Yankees versus lefties, opponent versus split, right here, they're league average. So I'm not expecting a lot of strikeouts for you, but that's one pivot I will take away. But the rest here is pretty junky to me. I'll maybe look into a few more later in the day. Thanks for watching the video. And again, hit me up in DFSR chat or Patreon chat or over on RotoPros chat up until the end of the month. It's 15 more days, closing the doors. I have brought the team, Kenny, Dane, and Ryan, over to my Patreon. We're definitely going to be building that. And you can lock in today's prices, which are $5 for one sport, $10 for all sports for an entire year, plus a 16% discount on that if you do lock that in for a year, because prices are going up July 1st. Hit us up with any information whatsoever. We can help you out in chat.